Hey, it's Steph. Today's guest is the First Lady of Women's Boxing, and her name is Cecilia Braekhus. She's a Norwegian boxer and former kickboxer. She's elegant, she's tough, and she's resilient. In this episode, we focus a little more on Cecilia the person than Cecilia the boxer, but they cannot truly be separated since boxing is in her veins and she's devoted so much of her life to training and fighting. We talk about the power and impact of having role models, female role models, the importance of mastering our own mental game, her fight to legalize boxing in Norway, her journey from Colombia and foster care to adoptive parents in Norway, charitable work and how it benefits the giver, perhaps more than the recipient, and the difficult decision every professional athlete will wrestle with to eventually hang it up and do life with a new canvas and a new kind of main event. I cannot wait for you to hear from Cecilia today. As the Another Door Opens name implies, this podcast is about opening our hearts and minds to the people, ideas, and world around us so that we can all live our lives with a little more ease and grace. During each episode you listen to, I encourage you to move if you can, in any way you can. Take a walk, stand up, sit down, stretch, extend your arms, wiggle your toes, practice your smile, or mindfully move your breath. These are all forms of opening. This is the Another Door Opens podcast, and I'm your host, Stephanie Himango. Here is Cecilia Braekhus.
Yes, absolutely. Cecilia Braekhus, Cecilia
Great. First of all, thank you. I'm so thrilled to be able to talk to you today. And it's mid-afternoon on the West Coast in the U.S. as we speak today. Have you already done a workout today? Are you an everyday workout person?
Yes, I have. And I'm in LA. I'm right by the beach. So I go to the beach 10 minutes and then I'll run on the sand. And it's pretty nice after being in the mountains for a couple of months. I love the beach. It's beautiful.
That's great. Well, I just wanted to open our conversation today with a question that I like to ask everyone, and that is, what do the words "Another Door Opens" mean to you, if anything?
The first time I heard that phrase was actually when I was in training camp with heavyweight world champion Vladimir Klitschko. He always said that phrase, when one door closes, another one opens. And, I was thinking a little bit about that. And I just realized that, that's so true. If you look at things this way, there's just some positivity coming into your life with that. It's hard to deal with these changes today because everything changes this fast and the pace is ridiculous. And, but with that mindset, it's just easier to get ready for any challenges that's coming because it just automatically puts in some positivity into changes, that it doesn't always needs to be a negative thing. It can be something great.
I want to cover a variety of things in this time that I have with you today, from your life as a professional boxer to early years to obstacles overcome to Uganda and beyond. But first, your name is First Lady of Boxing. Where does that name come from?
Well, actually, it was given to me when I moved to Germany. And the backstory for me moving to Germany is this. Professional boxing in Norway was forbidden by law since 1981. So I was not able to train or fight in Norway. So I wanted to be a professional fighter with all my heart. So the only thing I could do actually was to move outside of Norway. I was signed to, at that time, the biggest promotional company in Europe. It was called Sauerland Promotion. And I was the first woman ever to be signed to that company. And that's why I got the name First Lady, because I was the first lady. I was the first woman there. And oh my God, this is like 14 years ago or something. That name kind of stuck with me.
I've never heard that story before.
Oh yeah, everybody has their own version of my first lady name, but that is the reason.
That's the real version.
Yes.
And I did want to ask you about that, boxing being banned in your home country of Norway, how that influenced your boxing career. So it made you sort of uproot and go to Germany, it sounds like. Was that one of the very first steps of that ban influencing your boxing career?
Yes, absolutely. I don't think I would have done that if the ban against professional boxing wasn't there. That also give me a taste of the real boxing scene very quickly. I just had to learn the whole scene. I had to move to another country. There was a new culture. There was a new language. I was the first woman there. So I was kind of like just thrown into it all.
Just for some more context on the powerhouse that Cecilia Braekhus is and has been in boxing, I did some extra research online and found the following, and it appeared to be the most up-to-date info I could find. Cecilia reigned as the undisputed female welterweight champion from 2014 to 2020 and is the first woman in any weight class to hold the WBA, WBC, IBF, and WBO titles simultaneously. I know that you were pretty active in trying to advocate for legalizing boxing in Norway. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. I mean, I was sitting down with my team and, all my fights was shown in Norway. After I became a world champion, so my popularity increased in Norway. So all my fights were televised on Norwegian TV. And people would travel from Norway to Germany or Denmark where my fights were. And, we were just thinking, this is ridiculous. My fights are shown on TV in Norway, prime time. People are taking an hour boat ride to see my fights. And the politicians and famous people are congratulating me, after my fights. But I'm not allowed to fight in Norway. I will go to jail if I actually come to Norway to fight. And so we started to look at why it was banned, the reasons, and we also started to lobby a little bit because that's actually a funny story. I met our prime minister before she became prime minister at a garden party in Norway. And I asked for her support about professional boxing, and she was a big fan of me. So she said, of course, you have my support to fight in Norway one day. And right after that, she became the prime minister, and she kept her word. A couple of years of hard work from a lot of people, we finally got the ban removed, and I fought for the first time in Norway in front of 10,000 people since 1981. It was so surreal.
By the way, the name of the Norwegian Prime Minister is Erna Solberg, and she has been the Prime Minister of Norway since 2013. And it was something like a 33-year ban from what I've read.
Yes, that's correct.
Did I read correctly, too, that the law banning boxing was called the knockout law?
Yes.
I love that.
That is.
It's kind of fitting, but it's kind of funny as well. Well, that's really cool. So you were instrumental in that, and you planted a seed in the prime minister before she was prime minister about creating this type of change.
Yes, but of course, getting to actually remove the ban was a huge, there was mountains of paperwork. There were meetings. There were organizations, there were boards that had to be created. Amount of work that had to be done and dealt with I don't think even people can imagine. There were so many different things that had to be done, but it was worth it. We also televised it on free television, so everybody could tune in to watch this historical event, and I think almost half of Norway was watching it.
And was that important to you that it was free and that it wasn't a pay-per-view kind of a situation?
Yes, that was very important. I actually had quite the fight with not the TV station, but the people behind it, the big bosses, because they wanted to put it on pay-per-view, of course. I can't even imagine what kind of money we would have made on that fight. But me told them that would never happen. This needs to be Because one of the reasons I could do this was because of the support of the Norwegian people. I could never do that if I didn't have 100% support in Norway. And, to build a wall with pay-per-view, I could never agree to that. So we had a couple of rounds on that. In the end, I got my way, and it was shown on free television live.
And then fast forward to today, I know that for so many years for women's boxing, it's been a battle all its own to get television time and dollars and promotion here in the US, for example, that comes anywhere near what the men are getting. I'm just curious, how optimistic are you about the world of boxing for women now and going forward?
Well, I'm getting more optimistic now, definitely, because women was allowed into the Olympic scene. I mean, women had been discriminated from participating in the Olympic Games for 100 years. All the excuses that was made is the same excuses that been used now to try to keep women outside the TV scene, the television scene. And finally, women got to participate in the Olympic Games. After that, a lot of things happened. We see more and more women now getting on televised fights, and we see their popularity grow. We've seen a lot of great fighters, and we do have a long way to go, but we're definitely on the right path.
Did you know that the 1904 Olympics featured women's boxing, but only as an exhibition event? That according to Britannica.com. And it was as recent as 2012 before women's boxing became an official Olympic sport at the Olympic Games in London. I recently watched a short video that you voiced called A Letter to My Younger Self. I believe maybe commissioned by DAZN Boxing for Women's History Month.
Yes.
And in watching that, you share a little bit more about your early history. Can we go back to where you grew up, and can you share some of your story from your earliest years, the long journey you took as a very small child, and what your family was like?
Well, I was born in Colombia, Cartagena. I grew up in a foster home the first years of my life. I remember it. I only have good memories of that. Then I was adopted to Norway, to Bergen, which was on the other side of the planet. When I landed in Bergen for the first time with my new family, the first thing I saw was snow. I'd never seen snow in my whole life, and that was the first thing I saw when I landed. So that was quite the transformation. I had a great upbringing. I never lacked anything, and I always think about how lucky I was. When you're this lucky, getting adopted to the richest country in the world and never had to lack anything ever again, you cannot help to think about all the one who stayed behind and didn't get that opportunity. That's definitely something that's kind of been with me for the rest of my life. And that's definitely one of the reasons that's why I'm involved with other projects.
What was that process like for you writing that letter to yourself? Did it stir memories or emotions or create nostalgia in you in any way?
Yeah, definitely. It definitely did, because as a professional athlete and definitely as a fighter, I'm trained to just look forward, look forward to the next obstacle, look forward to the next goal. That's what I do. I look forward. I train, I fight for everything. So looking back was definitely a different experience.
Okay, how was it that you started punching and kicking? Can you take us inside your home and gym in those early days and maybe paint a picture of young Cecilia and your commitment to getting to the gym?
Sure. I think the first time I saw anything about martial arts was just a random poster, come and try kickboxing. But what it was also a woman on that poster. And I know, thinking back, how important that was. I know if there was only men there, I don't think I would have gone there. I think there was a handful of women in that gym coming to watch and experience kickboxing. Thinking back about that poster, I just understand how incredible important it is to have females to look up to, someone who looks like you to be role models.
Yeah.
And I just fell in love with the sport. From the first second, I just fell in love with the sport. My parents did not want me to go do kickboxing because at that time, you know, girls at the year of 13, they weren't supposed to, you know, punch each other in the face or kick each other in the face. So they say, no, you're not doing this. And I had to crawl over the rooftop and I had to crawl down the fire escape and to get to the gym. And I did that for a year before I got caught.
So set the scene for me a little. Were you living near the kickboxing gym? Did you have a house? Was it an apartment? That's amazing. You snuck out the fire escape for a year.
Yeah.
That's commitment.
It was pretty high. Yeah, we were at the highest apartment. So that's the only reason why I could climb out on the roof. But if I had, you know, tripped or fall or stumble or anything, I would just have killed myself. But you don't think about that when you are 13 years old and just want to go to the gym. And I think there was something about being able to master something at that age and just be good at something. It is an incredible, powerful feeling, especially for a girl.
Definitely. And there are a lot of young boxers who look up to you as a leader. What traits have you held fast to modeling as a person and as a boxer in terms of leadership for boxing inside and outside the ring?
That's a good question. I do like, well, this quote is a quote I just recently discovered, but I think that definitely sums up my whole career. And it's John Lewis' quote, "Get in good trouble." And I definitely think I have been getting in good trouble my whole career as a girl who was told not to do martial arts, who was told that she could never fight in her home country. Even though this is related to another kind of struggle, that is the most relatable quote I can think about.
And just a note, Cecilia is, of course, referencing and crediting the words and struggle of the late U.S. Representative John Lewis, who devoted his life to racial justice and equality. His full quote is, "Do not get lost in a sea of despair. Be hopeful. Be optimistic. Our struggle is not the struggle of a day, a week, a month, or a year. It is the struggle of a lifetime. Never ever be afraid to make some noise and get in good trouble, necessary trouble." And who, if anyone, were your role models or heroes in the world of boxing as you were coming up? I know you started with kickboxing and then, am I right that when you were around 21, you started boxing?
Yes, that's correct.
Who were your role models or heroes that you looked up to at that point?
You know, at that point, there wasn't many female heroes, to be honest. One of them was the girl on the poster.
Yeah.
And living in Norway was definitely not that many female heroes that looked like me. So I do remember the girl on the poster very well. Otherwise, I kind of had to carve my way out. I didn't have the blueprint for what I was doing. This was the time before, you know, internet and
yeah, that's true.
and I think I found more my role models locally, like in my club, you know, my mother, strong woman, friend of my parents. It was definitely in a close circle around me.
Mm-hmm. Choosing a life as a fighter isn't easy. Apart from the physical exertion, there's a great deal of restraint and discipline, from your diet to the most important mental game. For listeners both inside and outside the world of boxing, can you kind of explain why the mindset piece and the discipline pieces are so essential?
Well, I mean, in boxing, mentally, the mental part is, I mean, it's half, maybe even more. I actually started mental training very early when I was very young, 17 or 18 years. I was very lucky because it was giving to me a book from my trainer at that part. And it was kind of before the mental training was considered frowned upon at that time in these circumstances, in martial art, in boxing. But I've done it since I was a very, very young girl. And it's extremely important, not only in sport and in boxing. I always told anyone, my friends, my team, whatever you do, mental training, it will benefit you somehow. It really doesn't matter what you do. But of course, in boxing, it means everything.
And what do you do to become mentally fit? Do you meditate? What's your sort of outlet for feeling like you've kind of restored yourself mentally?
I think there are different ways. There are the ways where you train your brain to cope with extremely stressful situations. Then I have some different exercises, but you have to do it, I have to do it over. It's just like conditioning, you have to do it over and over and over again to get better at it. And if you stop doing it, you will slowly lose it. So it's definitely that part. And after my boxing matches, I'm talking just for me. I like to just get away from boxing altogether and be in the nature, being by water or some kind of other nature, but just let the boxing just completely go.
Yeah, I think that's probably healthy. Whatever the thing is that we invest ourselves in, with such intensity, at some point you have to have a little bit of a break from it.
Absolutely. And especially in today when things are going so fast, just take a break, just get away.
What can you say to young girls about owning their power, owning their muscles, owning their space on this planet? I think for a long time as a kid coming up, for me, I played sports and stuff like that. But, I was ashamed of my muscles, or, I wanted to be smaller, or this kind of thing. I wish I had some messaging of that type.
Absolutely. And you are so right. And, when you say that, I had the same experience myself. Training, I got bigger and more muscular, and I was told people were looking at me on the street. It was so weird.
What do you wish you had heard as a young girl and a young lady coming up in terms of strength and power?
Luckily, this is changing, but I wish I could see girls, girls like me. I wish I could see them, like Serena Williams. Oh my God, she has done so much for women and for Black women, especially. The most important is to see female role models, a variety of that, and just not to think that this is what you're supposed to be and just got locked in one space and one box. Like I said earlier, if I hadn't seen a woman on the poster about the kickboxing training, I don't know if I would have gone there. So seeing girls, and for women of all kind of standards, being visible is so important. So that's why it's so important, to go out there and be a role model, because for the next generation, that's everything.
Yeah, it could be the difference between somebody taking this life path or choosing something completely different.
Absolutely.
For all professional athletes, fighters included, there comes a time when they think more seriously about life after boxing. Do you intend to keep fighting professionally for a little longer?
Right now, I'm not stressing anything. I enjoy everything my career has brought me, and I'm having a great time, and I love boxing. I don't have any rush considering regarding a decision. Like you say, this was the first time when I did that letter to myself. I actually had some time to look back at my career until now, and I'm going to do that a little bit.
Yeah.
And then see what's coming out of all of that.
What are a few pieces that you are excited about in the post-pro boxing Cecilia world? I'm thinking about the work that you've been doing in Uganda.
I'm very excited. And that's why I'm a little bit torn right now, because I love boxing with all my heart. That's the foundation in my whole career, the love of boxing and the sport and the people. But also I created outside the boxing, and there are a lot of people who want me to spend more time there. And me too. I want to explore a lot of different things before it gets too late. This is a time for an athlete which is really hard. And a lot of athletes are struggling with a decision, to walk away from a world they have known for maybe their whole life. And then walking away from that, it's tough. But on the other hand, you have so much to look forward. So when is the right time? There's no blueprint for that. Unfortunately, I wish I had that one.
You're creating one for the next people. Can you tell me a little bit about that work in Uganda and what brought you to Uganda in the first place? I know boxing is big there, but was that the avenue to Uganda, or can you tell me about that?
Yes, it was. Absolutely. It was the first amateur boxing club. Amateur boxing was legal in Norway. So I did that for a while. And I had a trainer there who was a refugee from Uganda. And we get to talk, and he told me his backstory, which is pretty brutal. His family was killed, and he came to Norway, and he struggled with mental health, and it was getting really bad. And then somebody sent him to boxing, and he said, boxing saved my life. He said, without boxing, I wouldn't be here. He wants to go back to his country, and he just wants to give back. And he asked me if I wanted to be a part of this. I said yes, but I need to know that, that this is something I can trust and put my name on. I went to Uganda with him one time, and after that, he's been my friend. He's been my hero, my mentor, everything for the work he's doing for these kids and the community. I'm just happy, and I'm just lucky he took me into this project. It's just giving me so much joy and perspective, even though there are some extremely hard things you have to witness. Just be a part of what he's doing down there, building and giving education, which again will benefit the whole community. It's just amazing. I'm extremely thankful for him that he came to me like 12 years ago and asked me if I wanted to join this project of his.
Wow. And the project itself, am I correct that it's a school and a place to provide boarding and food for children outside of Kampala?
Yes, that's correct. It is a school. It is almost 100% self-sufficient. He knew that was very important for me. So 50% is girls and 50% is boys, because girls are unfortunately the ones who are often losing out on education there. That was very important for me, and he knew that.
Wow. This is just a complete and total aside, but I'm just curious to know if you know how to play chess, or if any of the children there tried to get you to play chess, because
no.
They have the world famous chess champion, Fiona Mutesi, and her life story was sort of encompassed in the book and then the film, The Queen of Katwe. And I was just curious if anything came up chess related while you were there.
No, I haven't heard about that. This is the first time I was told about her. Where is she from?
She's from just outside of Kampala. I think the area is called Katwe. I just want to make a correction. I misspoke here. And Katwe is actually a neighborhood within Uganda's capital city of Kampala. Yeah, and so she's called the Queen of Katwe. That's her nickname, but she's named Fiona Mutesi. And I think even if you look on, I'm not sure if it's Netflix or Amazon, and you search Queen of Katwe, Katwe, there's a film that's been made about her life.
I'm searching it right now, and I have not heard about her, but I'm very excited. I'm going to watch that.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Wow. I mean, it's not that many female chess players in the world. Well, it's a very male-dominant sport, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, and fortunately, that is starting to change, but her odyssey of becoming involved in chess and how she started beating all the boys, and it's a very sweet story. And like you pointed out earlier, there's a lot of hard stuff in there as well, but she sure is an inspiration.
That's amazing. There's so many women I met that just inspired me. I think maybe I should make that clear, because we're talking about the work I'm doing there, but I mean, what I'm getting back from these women, my problem seems so small. I mean, there are things that I complain over, and then I'm thinking about what these women have been through and what they are dealing with, struggling with every day. It is definitely humbling, to say at least.
I just think when we leave what we know, we gain perspective.
Yes.
About the blessings that we have in our own lives and also just gain an appreciation for people and another way of doing life.
Absolutely. Especially when you're an athlete, it's all about you, everybody around you. It's all about you and all the focus is on you. And I think it's very healthy to get a little bit out of that bubble.
And I can hear you smiling as you talk about it. So I think this has been a beautiful project for you to be involved in.
Yeah, I'm the lucky one when it comes to this project, for sure. I could go on and on about all the girls and the women I have met down there, but what they've gone through and the way they have picked themselves up. And
there's so much.
There's a lot of story there. Yeah.
Do you have any plans to go back? I mean, the pandemic might change things, but do you have any plans to go back when the school is opened? And is there any projected timeline for that?
Yes, we had some challenges due to the COVID situation, but our work just started up again and we are building it so we can actually get more girls and boys in there now. And looks like it will be completed in 2 months. I'm hoping to be there. I'm hoping the situation will be a little bit easier to travel down there at that point, but I will be there for sure.
Oh, that's beautiful. One question that I like to close each podcast episode with is there an example of a door closing in your life that in retrospect, you're glad closed? And if so, what you might have learned from that? Yes,
definitely. When you're a woman and you want to do boxing, you get doors shut in front of you all the time. From the first day when I wanted to do boxing and I was told no, I think that made me look at things different. And when the ban in Norway against professional boxing made me, forced me out of the country, but that definitely did catapult my career. Being in Germany, training with a professional team over there, learning the sport, learning the business about the sport, and taking control of my own career.
So the lesson here is a shut door is sometimes just a rerouting, maybe to a better path. Or if you adopt the mentality that all things happen for our good, absolutely to a better path. I think of it a little like the Bruce Lee expression, to be like water. Water is shape-shifting and fluid and soft and unrelenting and also a very powerful force at the same time. Maybe it goes around, maybe it breaks through. In any case, it presses on. I know people are going to want to follow you and see what you do next. So can you just give us an idea where we can find you online, where we can follow you on social media so people can keep track of you?
I'm not the best on social media. I'm trying, but they can go to my Instagram account, the First Lady Cecilia Braekhus, and they can follow me on Twitter and Facebook too, First Lady Cecilia.
Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate you saying yes and just being open to a new conversation with a stranger.
Absolutely. You know what, for me it's nice to be interviewed by a woman, because it's 99% men. So for me, getting interviewed and talk to a woman, I always say yes to that. Thank you for having me.
Cecilia Braekhus, thank you for being an inspiration to all people, to women, and indeed to fighters of all kinds. I hope you come back to talk with me here down the road to share more about your boxing career, your school in Uganda, and beyond. Make sure you follow Cecilia on Instagram at Cecilia Braekhus. That's at Cecilia Braekhus, and Twitter at One Lady Cecilia. I will put those in the show notes as well. I'll be posting a few pictures related to this episode on my social media pages, like always. So follow on Instagram and Twitter at Steph Himango and at PodcastADO. If you want to, take a second to share this episode with someone and rate and review it on Apple. To my Patreon supporters, thank you again for believing in the power of story and supporting the show. If you're interested in becoming a patron too, you can go to patreon.com/anotherdooropens to find out some of the options there, starting at $1 a month. I'll put that in the show notes as well. Those Another Door Opens drum beats were made by the amazing Eric Brown. And that is this week's episode of the Another Door Opens podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Think about how you can practice opening in your life today, and I'll do the same. I'll see you next time. Love you. Bye.